Alright guys, welcome back into Forza Motorsport 7. This is the Endurance GT Hopper, my favorite one so far. We're driving the Mercedes SLS. Now, I want you to remember this gray Viper in front of me. He's gonna be important. As you can see, he spins me around because he obviously doesn't know how to use the brakes, but that's fine. We're gonna catch up to him later in the race. So we're down in the last place right at the beginning of the race, unfortunately, but there's one guy that's off the track and another one that we just overtook. So two free positions in there. There's a Nissan Nismo in front of us, GTR Nismo. The tune that I'm using in this car is by F4H Super GT. He has a YouTube channel. Actually, he's actually my favorite Forza YouTuber, and I would recommend you to check him out in case you never heard about him. So the Nissan GTR just overtook this Corvette. This corner is a little bit tricky because it looks like it's deep, but it's not. And I'm trying my best to keep up with our pace just to make sure we don't fall behind. And I don't know what happened there, but the Corvette went straight against that tire wall, so another free position for us. The Nismo is still ahead of us and it's pulling away. Another one of those tricky corners that I just managed to avoid the tire wall. It's another tricky one because it looks like it's deeper, but you don't know because of the elevation. It's actually quite tight, so you need to be careful exactly when you brake before that corner so you don't go off the track. The Nissan GTR drives itself out of the track. I thought I would be able to overtake him, but that wasn't the case. The BMW also drives itself out of the track, so we got an extra position anyways. We're up in 9th place. Now this is the part where I want you to remember the Dodge Viper at the beginning of the race, because he's gonna drive himself out of the track, but he's gonna be a little... he's gonna think twice before rejoining the track because he knows I'm just behind him. And look at that. He'd rather stay on the grass than to rejoin the track and run the risk of being pushed off the track by me. I wasn't gonna do that, but that made him think twice before actually doing that. So we're up in 7th place. One of the cars drove into the pit lane. So one of the things of this hopper in specific is that there's an obligatory pit stop. So you absolutely need to go to the pit stop at least once during the race. Otherwise, even if you win the race and you don't pit stop, you're gonna be disqualified and drop down to the last place. So that's something that you keep in mind when you're racing the Endurance GT Hopper. Now there's a huge mess. I don't know exactly what happened in there, but we got 2 extra positions from this accident. Now, what you're about to see might seem a little bit questionable on my part, but I want you to pay attention to the braking meter just to the right side of the speedometer. My speedometer is marking 141 kilometers per hour, so just pay attention to the braking meter. I was too close and I didn't expect him to brake, and I couldn't brake soon enough, so I ended up doing this. So yeah, bad move on my part. That section of the track isn't a section that I usually brake unless I'm in a bad angle. That wasn't the case there, so that caught me by surprise and I ended up taking him out. But anyways, moving on with the race, we're up in 4th place, kind of a bittersweet overtake, but that's part of the racing. Sometimes you screw up, sometimes you get screwed up. As long as there's no ill intent behind the accidents that you cause, I think it's natural. Now, I'm gonna try to catch up with these two guys in front of me. I'm gonna let them battle between themselves because that's gonna slow them down, and I can benefit from that. The guy in front of me is driving an Aston Martin, which is a really quick car for this hopper. I think it's one of the best, if I'm being honest. But anyways, we're gonna drive into the pit lane to fulfill our obligatory pit stop. We're gonna lose a couple positions, which is to be expected. We were in 4th place, and we're gonna leave the pit lane at 10th place, which is not that bad. We just lost 6 positions, and considering that the other cars need to do a pit stop somewhere between these next 6 laps, we should be fine. So that was a good move on my part. I pit stopped at the right time. But anyways, we're gonna try to catch up with these guys very quickly because we cannot allow the guys that are up in the front to get too far away from us. Otherwise, we're gonna have no chance of ever catching up to them. So we need to keep them as close as possible before they decide to do their pit stop. So one guy is into the tire wall. It's the guy that I screwed up on the last lap. It seems like he has some trouble with this section because it's literally, I would say literally, but it was pretty close to the same place that he ended up braking and catching me by surprise. So this might be a tricky section for him. To me, the tricky section is this one. This is the one where I occasionally screw up in. But anyways, we managed to catch up with the BMW in front of us. We just have a 3-car pack in front of us, so we might be able to get 3 extra positions. The BMW is a little bit all over the place. I think he's starting to feel the pressure because I'm pretty close to him, and that's one of the things that gets me excited about Forza, because whenever there's a car that is too close behind me and I know that the car that is behind is faster than I am and the driver is better than I am, my heart literally starts pounding, and this is some sort of adrenaline that only Forza gives me, to be honest. I don't know if you guys feel the same. I don't know if you guys get the adrenaline from having a car way too close to us. But anyways, this Audi rejoins the track out of the pit lane and kind of slows the BMW down, which is something that was very welcome. We managed to overtake the BMW thanks to this, I would say, bad move on the Audi part, but I'm not sure what to make of it. But anyways, we're up in 6th place, and from this point on, my main focus is gonna be to try and force a mistake on this Audi guy. I'm gonna put as much pressure as I possibly can to try to force a mistake and regain one more position. So there are basically two Audis. I don't remember exactly which one I'm gonna be putting some pressure on, but I believe it's this Monkey Fingers guy. I don't know if I read his nickname correctly because it's a little bit blurry, but I believe he's gonna be the one that we're gonna be pressuring. So we managed to get through this tricky section just fine. And now there's the guy in the Aston Martin behind me, and that gets me a little bit tense because I know that this Aston Martin is faster than my car, actually way faster than my car, and I'm not sure if the driver is good or not, so it gets me a little bit on the edge of my seat. So we're pushing, trying as best as we can to overtake this guy in the Audi. We just got a little bit tapped by the Aston Martin behind us, but I don't think it was a malicious move. I just think that I might have braked a little bit earlier than he was expecting me to, so I kind of threw him off a little bit. So we managed to escape that just fine, and we're keeping up the pace and managing to keep both Audis fairly close, so we might have a chance to overtake this guy in front of us anytime soon, and that's the opportunity that I was hoping for. He just drove himself into the pit lane, so we're up in 5th place, one more position, and we should be back to where we were before we did our pit stop. So Monkey Fingers is the guy. He is the one that I'm gonna be trying to force a mistake by putting as much pressure as I possibly can without actually screwing him up myself. So I'm doing my best to catch up. He seems to be a little bit quicker than I expected, so we might have a little bit of trouble catching up to him. It's gonna take us a little bit longer, but we're gonna get there. The Aston Martin guy is dangerously close to us, and I can certainly feel the pressure, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to keep it together, especially so because there's a tricky section coming up. The Audi guy is still ahead of us, and there's the tricky section, and of course I couldn't keep it together. He takes the chance and overtake me, but that was a really bad move on my part because I should have looked to see if he was gonna try to overtake me, and it was fairly risky because I almost hit him sideways, but I'm glad that he managed to escape that and got out of that just fine. So we still haven't managed to catch up with the guy in the Audi, but that's fine. We're gonna do that, I promise. Right now I'm just trying not to stay too far behind them. So I managed to gain a little bit on the Aston Martin guy. He kind of took the corner a little bit too wide, and I took the ideal line, and so we managed to gain a little bit on him. The 7th place just entered the pit lane, so it's one less driver to worry about. So the race from this point on is pretty much between myself and the first 5 racers in front of me. There's not much to worry about going on farther back. So that's good. That's some extra peace of mind, but we still need to catch up to these guys in front of us. So I just managed to gain a little bit more over the Aston Martin. Let's see if we can gain even more over this section. Looks like we will, but he's probably gonna be able to get out of this corner and into the sort of straight a little bit faster than us because he has better acceleration. And he drives himself into the tire wall, so that's an extra position for us. Again, we're up in 5th place. Let's see if we can put some pressure on the Audi now. The Audi drives himself out of the track a little bit, and therein I managed to gain a massive advantage on him. So we're pretty close to him, and now the pressure is on. So I'm gonna do everything within my reach to try and pressure this guy into making a mistake. So I braked a little bit later than I usually do, but we managed to capitalize on the fact that he needs to brake earlier, perhaps because the brakes on these Audis are not as good as the ones in the Mercedes that we're driving. So this is something that I'm gonna keep in mind moving forward, because I noticed that on that section. So I'm gonna use that to my favor. I get a little bit too eager to get on the throttle, and I kind of lost a little bit of control of the car, but we didn't lose a lot of time. So again, I gained massively on him because I braked later than he did. Went a little bit over the grass in there, but just 2 wheels. Now I'm gonna try to stay as close as possible, and I think that's the part where he's gonna start feeling some of the pressure. He takes this corner just fine. He slides a little bit on this twisty section, and there you go. There's the mistake I was hoping for. Perhaps he tried to outbrake me and didn't realize that that corner wasn't as deep as it looked, so he drove himself out and straight into the tire wall or whatever there is up there. But anyways, we're up in 4th place. There's still the 3rd place that's within our reach if he still hasn't made his pit stop. So we're gonna have our fingers crossed for that. He still needs to do his pit stop so we can perhaps overtake him. We're not that far back. We are just a little bit over 300 meters, which is not a lot in this category. So 300 meters is perhaps like 3 seconds at best. That's the thing with this faster classes. Even though you might have a bigger distance in numbers, it might not mean that big if the cars are fast enough to cover that distance in a short amount of time. So if you were like maybe B or C class, then 300 meters is a lot, but not in this class. Yeah, we take this set of S's pretty nicely. I think that's the best one so far in the track, in this race actually. I always struggle with that section, but we managed to get through that pretty smoothly. Now, this tune that I'm using by Super GT is not the best tune that I've ever used, but then again, tuning is not his specialty, so I can't blame him. I have actually tried a different tune by, I don't remember exactly who, but when I bring a video using that tune, I'm gonna mention the guy. But this tune that I'm using is a little bit unstable, especially so when you're braking. So it's a type of tune that keeps you on the edge of your seat. But anyways, the third place just drove himself into the pit lane. That's just the opportunity that I was expecting, and we took the third place. So from here on out, I think this is gonna be smooth sailing because not much is gonna happen. We're approaching the finish line, and that's gonna be an easy third place. That was a really intense race. I really enjoyed it, and that's the thing with these endurance GT hoppers. Since you have a long race ahead of you, the field spreads out and you have a lot more interesting overtaking opportunities that you wouldn't have otherwise in the shorter ones. But anyways guys, that's been it. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did like, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more Forza Motorsport 7 content, share the video with your friends and on your social media. It helps me out a lot and I really appreciate the help. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Bye.